He's not good enough to be Manchester United's manager. He's barely competent enough to be a Premier League manager right now. And that's not me being disrespectful to Ruben Amorim. I think he's been there now well over 12 months. And I think the majority of managers in the Premier League who are all managing different other clubs at different ends of the table would look at Manchester United and think, I'd get more points than that. I really do believe those managers would believe that. And I believe they would as well. Because this is a guy who, don't forget as well, said at one stage, this is possibly the worst Manchester United team in history. He's managing it.
Well, I mean, that graphic doesn't tell a great story in terms of support of Ruben Amorim, and the fact that only Spurs, West Ham and Wolves of the Premier League ever-presence have picked up fewer points since Amorim was appointed. Forest, Fulham, Bournemouth, Everton, Brighton, Brentford, all with more. Might he argue, or his supporters argue, that he hasn't been backed enough, Jamie, when you look at what they've been able to bring in? Just 2 transfer windows.
He's been more than backed. I mean, he couldn't have had too many complaints if the club parted company with him in the summer on the back of how poor it was last season. But they then went into the market and spent a lot of money on the attack.
207 million on 3 players this summer.
OK, now whether that was, I'm sure he was heavily involved in that. Now, he's playing a system that is not in the traditions of Manchester United. So there was no way they could recruit all the attacking players and the wing-backs and maybe the centre-backs that he wanted. It was going to be over a long-term plan in terms of windows. But he can be complaining now about not having funds in January. Manchester United put a huge amount there in the summer. Don't forget, they had no Champions League football, no European football. A lot of that was down to him and how the team performed last season. Let's not forget, when he was brought in, the idea was to try and get them Champions League football. They were 4 points off the Champions League when he came in. They finished 15th. So when you talk about a lack of funds, that was down to him and the team and the players. And there was no way that he's going to get everything that he wants in one window.
I just wonder if some Man United fans would support him when you see how sort of fragile the bench seemed today, the lack of options that are at his call right now. And yes, the AFCON plays a little bit of part in that. There are injury problems as well. But you say yourself constantly, you know, they don't have players in central midfield that challenge other top teams. Maybe that's what he feels that he really needs right now to give himself a fighting chance.
Well, of course they need better players, but it can't come in one window. And he decided to go with the attacking players, or the club decided to go with the attacking players. They could have gone with one midfielder, one attacker, one wing-back. They didn't. You know, and that's maybe going to come in future windows. But the people he seems to be having a go at, you think of Berardi and Jason Wilcox. They're the ones who brought him in, and they're probably in some ways fighting in the summer to keep him in a job. I'm sure Jim Ratcliffe's looking at that situation thinking, you've brought this guy in, he doesn't play the way Manchester United have done in the past. The results are horrendous. What is this? What's this about?
But he also said, so Jim Ratcliffe said, we're going to give him 3 years and we'll find out about him. That was his idea.
That was just to calm the talk of the press about him being
Well,
sacked.
how did you think this ends now?
I think what I said about Maresca rings true with Amorim, in that this could be over very quickly. But Maresca was in a much stronger position to challenge his board or his owner than he was. He won the Club World Cup. He got the team into the Champions League. He did everything he was asked to do last season. Champions League football, won the European trophy, Club World Cup, won, done. I still didn't think it was acceptable to challenge the people above him. Amorim is in no position whatsoever to speak like that, because as I said, he's a barely competent Premier League manager so far on what he's shown.
The next 3 matches, they go to Burnley, Manchester City in the derby on the 17th, then they go to Arsenal.
Maybe he wants to get out before then, for them to certainly City and Arsenal.
But there's probably going to be some hope that the key players will be back from AFCON, that Bruno is going to be fit, that Mason Mount might be fit, that De Ligt and Maguire might be fit, and suddenly that picture looks very different, doesn't it?
It does look different, and you know what it tells you when you're reading those names off? It's not the worst squad in the world as what he painted them at times last season, and he should be doing a lot better than the results he's getting. Hence why I'm saying he's in no position whatsoever to be calling the shots to people above him. No one looks at that squad and thinks it's, you know, challenging for a title or a guaranteed Champions League position. But having no European football this season, they should be challenging for the Champions League positions.